And we're looking at 33 minutes after the 5 o'clock hour right here on NatchezRadio.com. It's time for Natchez Renewal Radio. We've got in the studio Mayor Dan Gibson. How we doing, young man?
Hello, Mr. Leon. We're doing great. How are you doing?
No complaints whatsoever.
I mean, how can you miss on a day like this?
Fantastic Natchez Day.
It is beautiful. It is. Talk about the Natchez Renewal. We're having Natchez Renewal, just a spring renewal right now. Spring is in the air, and you know that. And I love it when we move forward, spring forward on the clock, because it gives us more to do in the evenings and more daylight.
There you go.
I just feel better just having that. Mr. Leon, we are here on Facebook to give our report on our Washington, D.C. trip last week.
Oh, okay.
I was in our nation's capital, and I've got a lot of great things to share.
Fantastic.
Really good things. It was a really great trip. I make this trip, well, I go to D.C. a few times each year because it's important to stay there and make sure we don't miss out on getting our share of the pie, as they say. You know, somebody's going to get it. It might as well be Natchez, right?
It should be Natchez.
I mean, because Natchez...
Might as well. It should be Natchez.
It should be. Yeah. Better be.
Included.
Because Natchez deserves more. And I can tell you that we have $3 million coming our way. And it was finalized last week. We've been working for the better part of this past year on funding through Congress on several projects. I made this trip first about a year ago with Supervisor Warren Gaines. At the time, he was president of the Adams County Board of Supervisors. We continued working this, and then also Supervisors Angela Hutchins and Ricky Gray were in the nation's capital 3 weeks ago lobbying. And so I'm just so grateful to say that last week Congress passed it, and Friday night the President signed it, an appropriations bill that means good news for Natchez. We have a new fire truck coming to our airport. That's an important step forward in attracting commercial air service. We also, in this $3 million plus, we also have the funds now necessary to take care of important drainage projects, this time in South Natchez, in the areas around Rollingwood and also Glenwood subdivision. These were critical areas that were noted on our Natchez drainage study that we did just a short time ago, and we've been working to fund that, working state and federal levels both. And then I think what I'm really most excited about, we have the funds now to proceed with Phase 1 development of both Revels Plaza and also the Natchez U.S. Colored Troops Monument site on the north end of the bluff. In other words, we have the funds necessary to take care of sidewalks, landscaping, benches, infrastructure, lighting. And that's going to be a great beautification in both the MLK Triangle area, where we're going to create Hiram Revels Plaza to honor the first African American to become a member of Congress in 1870, and that was Reverend Hiram Revels of Zion Chapel. Senator Revels, he also was Chaplain Revels. He was in the Natchez U.S. Colored Troops. And so that project is coinciding with this, and that is the development of the park at the very north end of our bluff to honor our 8,000 plus who served in the Natchez U.S. Colored Troops. So what a great thing for Natchez. Now, the drainage projects, we are still working on more federal dollars for next year for almost $1.5 million more in drainage projects. We also last year got $1 million from the state legislature. We're working right now on another $1 million with the state legislature. These are drainage projects for West Deers Lane and Concord, and we are about to bid both of those projects, Phase 1, right now. So real good news. The other good news is all of this has been a bipartisan effort. I want to just say that my trip to Washington last week illustrated what a great blessing we have in Natchez to have partners in Washington on both sides of the aisle who want to help us. First of all, a shout out to Congressman Benny Thompson. Congressman Thompson and I didn't really know each other, hardly at all, when he became our congressman 2 years ago.
Okay.
We were building a friendship, and he spent so much time with me last week, I'll never forget it, and he was so kind and so helpful, and I was in his office, just the two of us, for over an hour. And he is the one who put in the first earmark for the Forks to Freedom Park that comprises Revels Plaza and also the north end of the bluff. He also worked with us to secure the funds for the fire truck and also the funds for our Natchez drainage project. But what I love about this is it didn't stop there. He worked it, his office worked it, but also we got help from our former Congressman, Michael Guest, who is a member of the Appropriations Committee, which is Republican-controlled. And he worked all through since last year to make sure our projects did not get struck from the bill in the Republican-controlled Appropriations Committee in the House. And in like manner, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Senator Roger Wicker met with both of them last week. They worked to make sure these projects were funded in the Senate version of the bill. And so what went to the president for signature, a Democratic president, was the result of a Democratic congressman working also with Republicans in the House and the Senate. And I just love it when people put party aside and do what's best and do what's right. And this is truly good news for Natchez. I think it also is just evidence that, great things are happening. Mm-hmm. We are continuing to work with Congressman Thompson and also with other members of the House and Senate, including our senators, on our Forks to Freedom Raise Grant application that was submitted 2 weeks ago. We lobbied for that while we were in Washington. And that will be a $24 million project to revolutionize the area of North Natchez, going from the flyover where Devereaux Drive begins and carrying all the way through to Jefferson and the north end of the bluff. Great improvements around Forks of the Road, great improvements around Revels Plaza, and making our crosswalks through that whole area and even downtown more pedestrian friendly.
Okay.
We are talking lighting improvements, signage improvements, and a way to make the entrance to Devereaux Drive at the flyover more pronounced as a way to go downtown and through our historic Black Business District on St. Catherine Street. Mm-hmm. Right now, if you approach on 61, the flyover diverts you on south as a means of entering Natchez, and we want signage that will encourage motorists to also be able to travel straight. Mm-hmm. So we are optimistic. We had a good try on this grant last year. This is our second year to apply. And we're hopeful. Another thing, while we were in Washington last week, we did request, as I said, $1.5 million more towards drainage projects. Mm-hmm. We have a large brick culvert about to collapse on State Street at Fine Avenue. And if it does, it will be a major catastrophe for that area. And so we're working to get the funds to replace that culvert before it reaches the point of collapse. Our Natchez drainage study indicated that that was a priority. Mm-hmm. Now, we also are lobbying for support for a coding academy that would be located at the Steckler building at our Natchez High School campus. This coding academy would be a very important component of our workforce development program. Mm-hmm. And it would actually pay individuals in our area to take a 6-month class on IT. Mm-hmm. 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And they approach this training like it's a job, and they're paid to take the training. And when they come out of that training, they're ready to be employed in tech industry at higher rates of pay. Okay. And we just can't wait to have that happen for Natchez. That grant award will be announced sometime in April, so we are lobbying hard for it right now, and that is a grant for about $500,000 through the Delta Regional Authority. So you add up all of this, it's major money for Natchez. Last week's $3 million, we can add to the $2 million in grants and appropriations and funds that were announced back in January. Do you realize that's bringing us to a total for the last 4 years of $45 million in grants, appropriations, and this doesn't count just Natchez. Working with our partners, the Adams County Board of Supervisors, also the Natchez National Historic Park, Mississippi Department of Archives and History. And one thing we continue to emphasize with all of our meetings is that we are grateful for their support of Jefferson College and also of Natchez Grand Village. You know, some great things are happening and some great things are on the verge of happening. Also, while I was in D.C., in addition to all these lobbying meetings, I also attended our annual meeting of the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative.
Oh, okay.
Now, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That is comprised of the mayors from up and down the Mississippi River, all the way from Bemidji, Minnesota to Gretna, Louisiana.
Wow.
Over 100 cities are in the MRCTI.
Okay.
And that represents 10 states. And we're so grateful to be a part of this organization. While we were in Washington, we met with government officials, administration officials, Army Corps of Engineers. We talked about the river. We talked about the fact that it is filling up, that we need to do more dredging. Army Corps of Engineers is doing a lot of dredging, but it's not as much as they used to do. As a result, the river is becoming more shallow. It's more prone to drought issues, and it's also more prone to flooding issues. We also talked about the need to fund NRCS, the National Resources Soil Conservation Commission, because we have so much erosion, not just in Natchez, but communities all along the river. And that is why it's the Big Muddy. It starts out very clear on the north end in Minnesota. But because of all the erosion, these bluffs, everything that's happening on our bayous just right here in Natchez, that ends up in the river.
Right.
And we're not dredging it at the rate that it's collecting. And so a preemptive measure would be to invest more in erosion control. And this was discussed in depth in a meeting with administration officials at the White House on Friday. Okay. And I was so grateful. My fellow mayor from Vidalia, Buzz Craft, was there with me and echoing also the need, as was George Flaggs, who is the MRCTI co-chair, and he's the mayor of Vicksburg. And we were all in one accord that we have really got to take care of our river, of our water quality, and making sure that when we have these droughts, that we can still move commerce along that river. We also met with officials from Viking and American Cruise Lines last week in Washington to talk about the cruise industry and how we're all dealing with the fact that American Queen is no longer in operation. But the good news is American Cruise Lines has announced that they have on plan, they're on target to build 5 new ships, 3 of which are under construction now, and at least one of those will be added to the 5 to 6 that regularly, seasonally operate along the Mississippi River. I actually was able to talk to the CEO of American Cruise Lines this morning, and they had 2 boats here on one day last week,
right,
and the boats are back, and we are so grateful. Also met with officials with Viking in Washington last week, followed up in a meeting yesterday. Viking is filling up their cruises at a rate to which they are considering possibly in the future adding another boat. So things are good for our cruise industry, and I do believe that these 2 companies, American Cruise Lines and Viking, are going to take advantage of the fact that there is a demand now because of cancellations brought on by American Queen's bankruptcy that was announced a couple weeks ago. The challenge is American Cruise Lines and Viking both report that their rosters are full for the next several months of cruising. In fact,
Great.
in some cases for the rest of the year on certain boats. So a lot to really cover. But speaking of the boats, I do want to say we are still hopeful that we can raise Silver Street. We had discussions on this with Viking yesterday, American Cruise Lines today. Everyone's ready to go, but we are still waiting on some legal documents that are still pending to be signed with the owners, some of the property owners under the hill. We've been working on this a long time. Let's hope that we get it wrapped up this week.
Okay.
I do want to mention this. While in Washington, I was able to visit with the vice president of Stantec Corporation. Stantec is a major worldwide engineering company that happens to have the contract with the state aid, Office of State Aid for highway projects and bridge projects here in Mississippi. This is under federal guidelines, not MDOT, but actually federal guidelines trump, the state guidelines. And so Stantec is the company that inspected the Canal Street Bridge last year and recommended its closure in December. We were very grateful that we were able to work with them right at Christmas time to keep the bridge open, but at a more restrictive limitation, 5 tons or less. We've been hopeful that we could remove the limitation through repairing the bridge. However, it's become evident that even repairing the bridge right now may not take it totally back to full capacity. We don't know exactly what capacity we'll end up at because once they finish the repairs, more stress tests have to be conducted before they put a new rating on the bridge. Mm-hmm. But to make sure that the bridge stays open and that we are seen to be proactively addressing the issue, our Board of Aldermen today approved moving forward with a contract with Stantec to begin immediately the plans to repair the bridge and keeping it open while it's being repaired. We hope to conclude that process in the next 4 to 5 months. Then we're going to have to look at a longer-term approach to replacing the bridge. These repairs may not last as long as we'd like, and they also may not get it to the rating we want. There may still be restrictions for some emergency vehicles, some of our tour buses, even after this repair. And so we are looking at possibly getting the repair done, having it open, but possibly looking at a 2-year plan to then raise the money to replace it. It's going to take about $6 million to replace it, but we're working on it. Now, I've got to shift gears. I'm sharing a lot of information, but I guess it's pent-up demand. I wasn't here last week, and so much going on. We had, I would say, one of our best meetings ever, our board meeting today. We, in less than 2 hours, approved moving forward on, I think, more projects in the millions of dollars than we've done in one meeting during this administration. We are doing all of this without raising taxes. Still haven't raised taxes. Yet today we approved the bidding of the $2 million renovation project for the city auditorium. We've already completed phase 1, repairs to the roof. Phase 2 is now going to be major improvements to the interior, addressing lighting, seating, painting of the interior, the acoustical tiles on the ceiling, new restrooms, a new green room, and new restrooms for the visiting artists, and better sound. It's going to be an amazing facility, wow. And we are bidding that project now. In addition to that, we are in the final stages of the project for our depot on Broadway Street, and we approved some change orders today to hurry up and get it open for tourism. We also are moving right ahead along with the renovations to the Civic Center, also renovations to the Convention Center, They will start happening in August. We've already let the contract, but the convention center, good news, is so busy, the contractors can't get in there to do the renovation until August. But so many great things. I'm really excited. Today we bid the project to begin the Phase 1 restoration of the Angeletti House.
Okay.
And today we also looked at a grant that we are applying for the Phase 2 renovation of the golf clubhouse, about a $500,000 project. We are already well into the Phase 1 restoration of the Duncan Park Golf Clubhouse right now. We also discussed our street resurfacing project, which is underway. I hope people are noticing the change. A lot more to come. And my goodness, I'm almost out of time. Let me take a breath. I got to come up for air.
Okay.
But Mr. Leon, what do you think about all that so far?
Well, I love the fact that you're working on the Angeletti House, and my question there, Mayor, is once that's been approved, what are we going to do with it?
Oh, it will be open for the community to use. Very much like the youth center that had been shuttered for a long time and is now fully renovated and being used by the public.
Okay.
The Angeletti House, we've been able to get grant funds, and that's through the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. But those grant funds stipulate that it has to be for the public to use.
Okay.
And so it will continue to be available to the 100 Black Women organization.
Oh, great. So
they will still be able to utilize it. Right. However, they will no longer have exclusive use of it. They will be allowed to use it just as any other community organization. Okay. However, it will be available also for parties, for other community groups to use. It will be a community center. Okay. And right there next to Jack Waite Park, and we are so excited.
Yeah. We used to have art exhibits there also.
We can do art exhibits again.
We used to do a lot of them there.
Wow.
When Thelma Williams was... Did you ever meet her?
I don't know that I did.
Okay, Mrs. Williams, Thelma Williams, she moved to New Orleans, I think. That's where she ended up going to. But when she had it, we would have art exhibits on some weekends, sometimes maybe 2-3 days.
I see, yes. Well, I've got to make it clear that this will be a community center for everyone to use. Okay. There will be rules, procedures, there will be rental fees that apply, but our goal is to make it accessible and reasonable for the use of everyone. We have so many things, but the other exciting thing that we did today was approving a contract with the Natchez Adams County Humane Society, which is going to allow the city to pursue the $50,000 renovation of a building on the grounds of the Humane Society. Not for another animal shelter. Anyone wanting to adopt animals still has to go to the Humane Society to do that. But this will be a place where our animal control department, consisting now of 2 full-time animal control operators, will be able to take animals that they come upon in the city. Right. And will be working in partnership with Hoofbeats Paw Prints to transport those animals to other locations for adoption and for the safety and wonderful well-being of those animals, and also for our community. And in addition to that, we applied also today, approved to apply for a grant for what may end up being 4 miles of walking and biking trails at Duncan Park. Okay. We already have two miles. We're wanting to expand it. We have a plan, and there's a grant that requires a match from the city. The grant is a $125,000 grant. The city's match of $20,000 since just a week ago. Our Parks and Rec department has already raised contributions to cover half of the city's match. Fantastic. And so we are excited. And then finally, we had last night 311 show up at Duncan Park, I'm told. Well, I don't know if they all showed up last night. They may be staggering them. It may have been 69 last night. They're staggering these teams. A total, for the first time in years, we have baseball back at Duncan Park on renovated fields. We have so many teams I can't count, all through the age groups, and a total of 311 young people have signed up, and we have over 30 coaches volunteering to help make this happen. Baseball is back on. So proud of what the county is doing at Chester Willis, and now what we're doing at Duncan Park. You know, Natchez deserves more, and we are striving for more. I've got one last thing to say. You know, today is election day. I hope people got out to vote. I got to the polls, and there wasn't a whole lot of choice on the Democratic ballot. Everybody was unopposed, so I had to just look and see, well, who's on the Republican ballot. There weren't many people turning out. I hope we'll have a better turnout coming up. We do have municipal elections right around the corner on April the 2nd. But I want to thank everyone that I'm getting to run unopposed this time. And that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But even though I'm unopposed, we need people to there's still important races on the ballot and still need people to show up and vote.
Okay.
I am done.
All right, Mayor. Well, we're talking Natchez Renewal Radio right here, 97.7 The Beat, NatchezRadio.com. Phone number to call, area code 601-446-9911. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Thank you, Natchez, and God bless you.
You're out.